We have some interesting managerial news to discuss in today's video. Not only this, we have a lot of other Celtic news to cover from the last 24 hours.
But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content.
Journalist Mark Guidi believes Celtic's current squad needs a serious rebuild in the January transfer window, regardless of who is in charge by then. Speaking on the Go Radio football show, Guidi described the team as tired, predictable, and lacking in quality, stressing that both recruitment staff and the next manager, whether Martin O'Neill, Kjetil Knutsen, Wilfried Nancy, or Kieran McKenna, must oversee a full refresh. O'Neill himself has admitted the side lacks physicality, with several key areas weakened after the summer window. No striker was signed until free agent Kelechi Iheanacho arrived late, and he's now injured. No right winger replaced Kuhn, forcing Dyson Maeda, who wanted to leave, to play out of position. Guidi added, "You can see it's a tired squad, predictable and lacking in quality. The midfield needs freshened up. They missed out on Lennon Miller, the best Scottish talent of last season. Even players like Hatate, who's been brilliant, now look like they need something new." He said the issue stems from years of poor squad planning. Squads really have a maximum of 3 years together. You could see when Brendan Rodgers came back, it already needed replenished. Some players should have been moved on for everyone's benefit. With key players like Carter Vickers, Johnston, Osmond, Saraki, and Iheanacho injured, O'Neill has turned to fringe options, and youth, such as Callum Osmond and Simpson Pusey Guidi, concluded that January must mark the start of a major resurgery if Celtic are to catch Hearts in the title race and restore their dominance. Now for the main story, as Martin O'Neill may have managed his final game for Celtic, or he may simply be enjoying a rare weekend off. The problem is, no one knows. The club's silence has left supporters completely in the dark about what comes next. O'Neill admitted last week that he hasn't spoken to Dermot Desmond since taking temporary charge and remains unsure of his future. That uncertainty is beginning to frustrate fans who feel there's been zero communication or transparency since Brendan Rodgers' resignation last month. However, pundit Gordon Dalziel believes the silence is deliberate. Speaking on Clyde 1 SSB, he suggested that Celtic are keeping quiet until a permanent manager is fully secured. "I don't think Martin O'Neill is going to be long-term. They'll want someone in by the January window who can identify the changes the club needs, both in personnel and structure. But modern football's different now. Clubs can't just pick up the phone and get a deal done overnight." Dalziel went on to argue that O'Neill's presence has bought time for the board to conduct their search properly without external pressure. O'Neill's taken the heat off them, but I'm sure they're already well down the line with potential appointments. Until the paperwork's signed, it'll all stay quiet behind the scenes. While the theory holds weight, there are currently no credible reports suggesting an appointment is close. Several names have been floated, from Kieran McKenna to Kjetil Knutsen, but nothing concrete has emerged. For now, the only certainty is uncertainty. Fans want answers, but until the board breaks its silence, speculation will continue to fill the void. In other news, Chris Sutton has urged Celtic fans to stay patient and supportive if Wilfried Nancy is appointed as the club's next manager, comparing the situation to how Ange Postecoglou turned skepticism into success at Parkhead speaking on the Record Sport podcast. Sutton reminded fans that Postecoglou was written off before becoming a treble-winning legend. When Ange came in, nobody had heard of him, and he took a lot of stick. But look what he achieved. If Wilfried Nancy is the choice, you've got to give him time and an opportunity. Any manager coming in now has a massive job. Nancy, recently available after leaving Columbus Crew, is admired for his attacking football and player development. Both he and Kjetil Knutsen remain linked to Celtic, though sources suggest Knutsen is unlikely to move before Bodo Glimt's Champions League run ends. Sutton warned supporters not to rush to judgment, insisting results will define perceptions just as they did for Postecoglou. Fans can change their minds quickly once the wins start coming. Whoever it is, they'll need backing, not doubt. With Martin O'Neill's interim future unclear and the board staying silent, Celtic supporters are demanding clarity. The club's next fixture comes against St Mirren on November 22nd, where more questions than answers still linger. In other news, journalist Mark Guidi has claimed that Dermot Desmond will not personally handpick Celtic's next permanent manager, marking a potential shift from how major appointments have been handled in the past. Celtic's search for a new boss continues quietly behind the scenes, with Wilfried Nancy and Kieran McKenna among those linked to the vacancy. However, there have been no confirmed approaches for any candidate, including Nancy, who recently became available following Columbus Crew's MLS playoff exit. Speaking on the Go Radio football show, Guidi said that while Desmond will still be involved, this time there will be a formal recruitment process involving other key figures, such as Paul Tisdale, head of football operations, and Desmond's son, Ross Desmond. Dermot Desmond has basically handpicked the manager, Martin O'Neill, Gordon Strachan, Brendan Rodgers, Guidi said. My understanding is that won't be the case this time. Obviously, he'll be involved. His son, Ross Desmond, will be involved, but there'll be a proper process. So, for example, Wilfried Nancy's name has been mentioned. There is a connection to Paul Tisdale, and I'm led to believe Paul Tisdale very much has Dermot Desmond's ear. If true, this would represent a major change in how Celtic handle managerial appointments, moving away from the Desmond-driven model that brought in O'Neill, Strachan and Rodgers in years past. That refresh is long overdue, and few Celtic fans will complain if the club finally modernises its approach. With the international break offering breathing space and Martin O'Neill's interim spell still unresolved, Celtic's next move could come soon. The board are said to be taking their time and doing due diligence before naming Rodgers' successor. Lastly, Celtic fans remain in the dark over Martin O'Neill's future, with no clarity from the club on whether the interim boss will remain in charge beyond the international break. While Wilfried Nancy continues to be tipped as the leading candidate to replace Brendan Rodgers, there have been no credible reports of official contact between Celtic and the Columbus Crew manager. The lack of communication from the club has frustrated many supporters, and former striker Chris Sutton believes Celtic are missing a key opportunity to show leadership and transparency. Speaking on the Record Sport podcast, Sutton urged the hierarchy to make a clear decision and communicate it to the fans. If Martin's asked to stay on, I think he will do it, but I hope he's not asked to stay on long term until the end of the season. What is important is that the club make a decision and are decisive right now, and whether I agree with it or not, whether Martin and John should stay on, it'll be better if they just say so everyone can then look forward and know where they stand. O'Neill has steadied the ship since returning to the dugout, overseeing wins against Falkirk, Rangers and Kilmarnock, while guiding Celtic into the League Cup final. However, uncertainty around his position and the broader managerial search continues to hang over the club. Fans are just wanting some clarity. Not too big an ask from a club that should be bending over backwards to meet supporters' needs in such a turbulent time. It's time for the board to step up and make their intentions clear.
What do you think of what we discussed in today's video? Let us know down in the comments section below. Make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.